I'd like to call the Harrisburg Planning Commission to meeting to order at approximately 6:33. Commissioners, you received the, before I get into the agenda, I'd like to welcome our new board member, and to make sure I said your first name right, Basir. Basir. Okay, Vincent, right? Welcome aboard. I noticed you sort of was interested in comprehensive plan and all that. You came to the right place. And we're very objective in our meetings. We have experienced commissioners here, and we only very objective with our decisions. And base it on zoning, comprehensive plans and everything else. So welcome, good to have you on the board. Okay. With that, Commissioner, you received the July 2nd meeting minutes. Are there any changes, additions, deletions? If not, could I get a motion?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second for approval of the minutes as they are. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? One abstention. No, two abstentions. With that, a motion carried. With that, under old business, item number 1, this is a variance application for 508 and 510 North 2nd Street. It's a zone commercial neighborhood. It's filed by David Butcher with WCI Partners, LP. It's to convert the existing office building to multifamily dwellings with a total of 11 units. Staff?
Yes, the applicant is proposing to convert the existing office buildings into an 11-unit multifamily dwelling, which requires zoning hearing board approval of a variance from the density requirements outlined in section 7-307.3A of the zoning code. Buildings on site will be converted into one-bedroom units ranging in size from 435 square feet to 588 square feet. There will be 5 units in 508 North 2nd Street and 6 units in 510 North 2nd Street. Properties at 508 and 510 North 2nd Street comprise a project site totaling .09 acres and featuring 2 3-story buildings. The former is a 3,519 square foot structure, which was constructed in 1920, and the latter is a 3,822 square foot structure, which was constructed circa 1900, although they were almost certainly they were constructed at the same time. The properties are bounded by the property at 512 North 2nd Street to the north, North 2nd Street to the east, the properties at 124 to 132 State Street to the south, and the property at 507 Adams Alley to the west. These attached masonry structures mirror each other and feature elements of the Second Empire architectural style. Character-defining features include the brick facade, the brownstone water table featuring decorative metal grates over the basement windows, large ornate entryways, decorative window headers, large ornate cornices with brackets and modillions, 2-story porches at the rear of the side elevations, large dormers with pediments, and a slate mansard roof. The main entryways are topped with simple transoms displaying the property addresses and feature tall, paneled wooden doors set within substantial frames featuring fluted pilasters and brackets, and wide pediments with decorative woodwork. They are accessed by brownstone stoops with metal railings. The property at 508 North 2nd Street includes a secondary entrance featuring a paneled wooden door with a half-view pane in place of one of the first-floor windows. It is accessed by a brownstone stoop with metal railings. Fenestration includes at least 6 2/2 wooden windows on the front elevation of each property. 510 North 2nd Street features a 7th window where the pair features a door. Those on the first and second floors feature decorative wooden headers with scroll work. The third floor dormer windows feature arched top sashes, fluted pilasters, brackets, and substantial pediments with keystones. Fenestration on the side and rear elevations features windows in a variety of sizes, pane configurations, and settings. There is a first floor oriel window with 1/1 wooden windows atop panels on the side elevation of 508 North 2nd Street. Structures feature mansard roofs with real slate shingles and otherwise appear to be topped with flat rubber roofs. Aside from minor modifications, primarily on the side and rear elevations, the buildings retain a significant amount of their architectural and historic integrity and reflect many of the same architectural features as other buildings in the neighborhood, and particularly along the 500 block of North 2nd Street. As such, the structures contribute significantly to the eclectic and diverse architectural and historic character of the streetscape and neighborhood. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. If the applicant receives approval of the requisite zoning relief requests, They must secure city council approval of the associated land development plan for the proposed conversion. Any exterior alterations to the building will receive approval from the historic preservation specialist, or if necessary, receive harbor approval of a certificate of appropriateness application. And the applicant will coordinate with the Department of Public Works to ensure the account billing reflects the establishment of the proposed uses on site. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The adaptive reuse of vacant and undesired office spaces compels significant investment that requires commensurate relief from the density regulations of the zoning code, as noted in the financial evaluation provided by the applicant in their supplemental narrative. And the unique interior configuration of split-level floors and thick masonry party walls precludes combining proposed units. Other conversions of former office buildings in the surrounding neighborhood have demonstrated the proposed use will not adversely impact the character of the neighborhood, and the project will help retain existing architecturally and historically significant buildings endangered not only by the threat of extended vacancy, but by the deteriorating buildings to the north. And finally, the proposed reuse will add residents to the neighborhood to activate the street on nights and weekends and grow a customer base to support local businesses, and will provide additional units to the downtown housing inventory. And it should just be noted that this review and the following one are for the same project. It's just the zoning relief and land development components of those.
Okay. Thank you, staff. Could you state your names, address, and relationship to the project?
Sure. Dave Butcher with WCI Partners. Our address is 1900 North 2nd Street. We are the developer for the project.
Lori Fortini, 1900 North 2nd Street with WCI. I'm working on it.
Okay. You both heard the conditions by the staff. Are you acceptable of those conditions?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Did you want to add anything to it, or?
No, I think staff covered everything, but we're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. I don't have any questions at this time, so I'll come to my commissioners and see if they have questions or concerns. Commissioner McKenzie?
Yeah, I don't have any specific questions on the project. I mean, I think it's a good plan. It is, needed, and I understand the finances. The struggle I have is utilizing a variance as the route to get here. And I guess I would ask, Joff, do you have available the definition in MPC of what a variance is relative to financial difficulties not being an applicable issue?
I don't have anything with respect to
Does
the
our attorney have it maybe with her?
MPC.
Okay. I don't have it memorized, the exact language,
Yeah.
and I'm not trying to deep six the project. I'm just wondering whether there's another route rather than creating an open avenue for others to claim I bought a building, I paid too much for it, now I need a variance. And I just see a slippery slope, and nothing about your project. Is there another route to get you to where you want to be?
So I would note that, and I'm certainly not a lawyer and don't know the specifics, but I know that other applicants in the past, especially those that have legal counsel, have referenced state Supreme Court decisions that do establish some threshold of financial hardship, especially for dimensional variances, I think, as opposed to like use variances. So I know that that's out there, but I don't know the specific language or what that threshold is, and it's probably a case-by-case basis for that matter. So I know that that's out there, but that's just from my experience being in these meetings and hearing legal counsel reference those and seeing them referenced in supplemental narratives that accompany some other projects.
Yeah, I mean, the dimensional, absolutely. The fact that the building was built before there was zoning, and the zoning never would allow our city to be built, no matter how you write it. And if those were the issues that were coming to us relative to variance, I think that would be clean and clear. But the fact that the arguments has been prima facie is on finance, I struggle. I have a tough time with
Maybe
that.
let Dave.
I can respond to that. Yeah, thank you. Just to clarify, there are unique physical circumstances in the building, and that is our primary argument. I included the financial, but in our narrative that we submitted with the project, most of the points, especially the initial points, are relative to the physical circumstances of the property, which does meet the criteria.
Explain them to me, if you would,
Sure.
Dave.
Yeah, so there are elevation differences on the second floor between the front and the back, so these units cannot be combined. Same condition exists on the third floor. There's an and it's
It's
similar.
typical Harrisburg.
Typical Harrisburg switchback
Pre-1900,
stairs
yeah,
that-
yeah.
where they have the different elevations.
Yeah.
And then there's a thick party wall in between both of the buildings that impedes the ability to combine those with a logical circulation plan. So, and then that condition also exists on the first floor. So that is I understand your concern, and I agree with Jeff. I don't have the legal cases at hand, but I think there have been some cases that have been approved. Precedent has been established based on financial circumstances, but leaving that aside, there are unique physical
Right.
circumstances.
And I think
meet
the few
criteria.
financial ones that I have seen, in looking at the histories, typically have been a building was owned by the applicant, zoning was adopted, and created the financial, but not through no action of theirs. In this case, the building's been bought with the known restrictions and now trying to, I guess I'm just struggling whether variance is the right tool to get here, or there's another avenue. But again, not against the project, I think it needs to be done, but it's a bigger long-term issue, I think. And we're recrafting what variances will be in the city going forward. Thank you.
What about with respect to the physical circumstances? I think under that criteria,
Well, it ties back, it works, in my mind, it works back to we're trying to get to a certain number of units because the dollars follow the bathroom in their bathrooms and kitchens. If we were talking about a building where by right it could have 6 and you're trying to go to 7 units or 8 and you're trying to go to 11, but the starting point in that particular zoning area, for right or for wrong, is, as I understand from your write-up, pretty low, for the conversion. So that's all I have to say here. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Toole?
Obviously, Jeffrey, you have no problem with the density on this?
I think in my initial discussions with the applicants, I did reference, and from looking at their initial submissions, I did make a comment to them that I think their front and rear units proposed could be combined and to create like 7 units, for example. And then into further discussions and doing a site visit, that's when I observed the switchback staircase that they had referenced. I had pictures of that in the case report, and it was evident that it was not just so easy as like punching through a little dividing wall or something like that to add these. So I do think there are issues beyond the finances of this as far as combining units and how this building functions as a multifamily dwelling. Again, this was originally a single-family dwelling, so it wasn't as big a deal. Gets converted to office, and now, the office, these are trends that cities go through at different, uses of these downtown properties. And so when you look at what's the use after the commercial, I think, what they've laid out makes sense from the way the floor plan lays out.
All right. Yeah, I think you've been on this commission too long, wanted to see trends change, I guess. I mean, there was a time when we'd roll up our sleeves and combat this, But I think density is one of the issues that we have to, in light of the housing crisis, that we have to lighten up on. So the other thing, unless the solicitor disagrees with me, I think we allow the applicant to verbally amend its proposal so that we could factor in the physicality of it whenever we make our decision.
Well, I thought the physicality is mentioned throughout the case report.
Okay.
And what Jeff did there, summary, if you look into their narrative, they have as well noticed, the unique and peculiar
All right.
aspects of the building. So I think it is fully within
All right.
what they have submitted, that they do have some physical peculiarities in the building that would require or limit them in the way they could divide the building.
And to be clear, if that wasn't explicitly noted as a condition, as a reason for approval, that was an oversight on my part to not include that. I had hoped to at least make reference to that throughout the case report.
Okay, yeah, I understand Vern's concern, just, you don't want to set a bad precedence here, so, yeah, I'm in favor of it, so.
Okay. Commissioner Norwich?
Merrick, yeah.
No, I don't have any questions or concerns. I actually do feel that the applicant outlined the physical constraints, as being one of the hardships created here in this situation, over the financial. So I don't have concerns with this.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes. So first of all, I wanted to start off by saying thank you for the well-written application narrative. It's very helpful.
Cool.
Beyond that, I noticed that you referenced laundry facilities. Will those be in unit, or is there like a shared facility amongst the
Shared.
units? Okay. As far as the pricing goes, I assume it will be market rate. Do you have any general idea what your range might be?
Probably 1,100 to 1,200 range.
All right. And then my last question was for Jeffrey. Based off of what you have on the case report on the first page, I assume that these square footages are allowable for one-bedroom apartments.
Yeah, I mean, the zoning code doesn't have anything with respect to what the minimum size of a unit is. There are codes, bureau requirements, but these do exceed them. I don't know what they are. I think they might be 350 feet off the top of my head, but
But not as far as the zoning goes.
no.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You bet. And just one comment in response to the size of the units. One of our most popular properties that Lori can speak to if needed is 922 North 2nd Street. We call it Union Lofts. It's right on 3rd. Has kind of a Beaux-Arts kind of facade. Those units are 490 square feet, and they're one bedrooms. They're really efficiently laid out. We've got like barn doors in them that kind of combine the bedroom and the living rooms, or hall space, but it just makes it feel larger. Anyway, that's our most popular property. There's a lot of demand for that size. And this is just me speculating. Like when I got my first apartment, I had all kinds of stuff like DVDs and CDs and books and stuff. Today, it's all on one device. So it seems that the level of square footage just isn't needed for a lot of the things that people used to have. That's what we're kind of finding. It's not total, but there's a segment of the market that likes the smaller square footage.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Benson?
No particular questions, just going to allow this thing. I do like the adaptive reuse for this building. So that's definitely something that the city needs.
Okay. With that, I'll go to the public. If anyone has for or against this project, please stand and state your name and address. I'll start at the middle and to my right. I guess that's it. Commissioners, I'm going to probably vote in favor of it. I know my vice chair is concerned, but I'm with everyone else as far as the hardship being the physical layout of the building, the hardship there. That's what I concede over, making it over the fiscal at this time. Okay.
If I may again, I just think we're using the wrong tool to get to the right place. Even though I think we probably should be having discussions about some rezoning. I hate to talk spot rezoning, but it may be appropriate in the downtown given the variety of buildings that we have, densities and capabilities. I just struggle with any language in here that talks about the financial. I think that makes this a very dangerous document to have in our archive and perhaps carrying in the next meeting, the meeting after that, and the meeting after that. We go back 20 or 30 years. We used to hear a lot of that. Well, you let so-and-so do this, and I think we kind of shut that down a lot with parking. Interesting, it's a great project. You've got a good architect. I'm sure it'll be a stellar solution. They always are. It just, are we using the right tool that doesn't create a bigger problem to get to a short-term gain on just this one project? So that's all I have to say. On that basis, I can't vote for it at this point as written.
Okay. With that,
I will say, and I apologize, I will, going forward, I will look into what the case law says so that I can inform you what the courts are saying, or if they've changed in any way, what the test should be, if there's a percentage, if it's up to the discretion of what the commission would like. But I will avail myself of the case law and make you guys available to have it as well. And then, going forward, you can make a more informed decision based on whether or not it's the way you want to do it.
With that, can I get a motion?
Motion to approve condition.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval with the conditions. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carried.
And I think you can probably take a motion on the land development plan. I don't have any other additional conditions on that recommendation, other than tying it to the zoning relief and, having it be predicated on the zoning relief being granted. So the testimony would be the same.
Okay. Number two, of course, I'll read it for the minutes. It's a land development plan application for 508 and 510 North Second Street, zone commercial neighborhood, filed by David Butcher with WCI Partners LP to establish 11 total units between the two buildings. Did you want to, I guess, add anything to that?
No, nothing further, unless there's any questions on this application.
Okay. With that, I have no questions on it. Commissioner McKenzie? Commissioner O'Toole? Commissioner Merrick?
None.
Commissioner Jordan?
No questions.
Commissioner Vincent?
My only question, I've read over the parking piece. How did that determination about ample parking? Like, if you can just give me a brief synopsis of that.
Yeah, so that was based on my experience visiting the property, being able to park out in front. There's, at least from my experience driving down Second Street, which I do every day, there is generally parking available in front of these properties. The properties just to the north, 512 and 514 North Second Street, those are not occupied. They're actually in a fairly deteriorated state. And then you have the AFL-CIO parking lot just to the north, and I think there's like about four parking spaces along that, on-street parking spaces along that section of Second Street. And then there is, parking along State Street as well, especially at night. Less so during the day, I'd say, but that's kind of the complementary use of people coming in to work there and then leaving in the evening, and then the residents being able to park there. So, and those are, I think ticketed or metered until 5, I want to say, 6. And so there would be parking available for the residents at night to park on State Street. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, usually in the zoning code, there is a component whereby, and this is more for the zoning relief, which is not required because in the CN district, but they talk about the complementary uses and being able to share parking spaces, and those are relative to on a property and shared, but the same principle would apply to publicly accessible parking as well.
I have a question for the applicant. David, your due diligence, do you have any idea what's going on with the two properties immediately north of you? They came before us like 5, 6 years ago.
Several times.
Yeah, it was a rather aggressive plan and nothing ever happened.
My understanding is that the owner's getting bids right now to demolish them.
I'd be improved.
Yeah, I think there's alignment with our interest and your interests in getting those down as quickly as possible. We would like them not to come down during or after we have finished construction due to the noise and dust that could be created with tenants. So we are encouraging the owner to take those down.
Any other concerns, commissioners? If not, I'll go.
If I might, I think what you're referring to has been an issue that we've had in other locations in the downtown and I'm speaking from the parking authority side here, and that is the wanton printing of permit parking for residences. And if you look at the number of permits that are out there and the amount of spaces that are available, I know that's been many a concerns and calls I've had over the years. And that has been used on some of the larger developments downtown as the excuse for why, oh, we can make this work. We'll tell the out-of-town folks that they can spend $60 a month to get a parking permit and then take a resident who's been in the area for 10, 20, 30 years, they have no space. And so that is a problem that we've not been able to resolve. And it comes back to the parking deal and all the issues there. But you've probably heard us talk about it. And I agree with Joffrey's assessment, this particular location has a higher density of available parking after hours. But again, you're in that district, you may still be competing a little bit. But, it's not a huge development. But he is correct. In the CN district, we do not require parking. And that's the thing. So it becomes a functional thing, but it's part of a bigger problem that we've got to deal with in the downtown for those places that aren't CN.
Okay, is anyone for or against this project? I'll start the middle again and to my right. And with that, commissioners, could I get a motion?
Motion to approve with conditions.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval of this project with the conditions. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck, Dave.
Thank you.
Okay, on old business, under number 3, land development plan application for 1081 Elliott Street, which is zone industrial, is followed by Charlotte Katzenmoyer with Capital Region Water to construct an industrial building and associated site and access improvements. The applicant has requested a continuance to the September 3rd HPC meeting. Commissioners, could I get a vote on?
I actually have a revision to suggest. In the email submitted by Capital Region Water, they are requesting a continuance until October's meeting, not September's. So I think we should amend that request
Thank you.
and vote on.
We need to be with the timing, if this has been before its whole business.
They actually have not submitted anything.
Just to make sure we don't trip
They haven't submitted
clock.
anything.
and they need to request an extension since we're not going out 2 more months.
Right, so and I can coordinate with them and see if they want to withdraw and then resubmit to be within the time frame. They actually did submit something, but as I was going through their drawings, I noted their building was going to be in the floodway, which they're not permitted to have per our zoning code. And so they first requested the first continuance because they're still working with PADEP, because our zoning code does note that PADEP can issue approvals for development in the floodway. I don't know if they will. I don't know if they're going to redesign this or just scuttle the project altogether. But if timeline becomes an issue, I can work with them to just have them formally withdraw and then resubmit.
Yeah, again, just a precedence issue.
Yeah.
Okay, this is with the amendment from our commissioner. This would be continued to the October meeting.
First, yeah, October 1st is the meeting.
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and second for the continuance to the October meeting. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Under new business, this is a variance and special exception application for 1932 Foster Street, which is zone residential medium density. It's followed by how to pronounce your first name? Martin.
Jennifer, but with a Y.
Okay, Jennifer with a Y, okay. Martinez, this is to convert the existing single-family dwelling to a 2-unit multifamily dwelling.
Yes, so the applicant is seeking to formalize the conversion of an existing structure as a two-unit multifamily dwelling, which requires zoning hearing board approval of special exceptions for the proposed use and relief from the off-street parking requirements per section 7-305.7 and 7-327.6 of the zoning code respectively, and variances for relief from the density regulations and specific criteria in sections 7-307.3 and 7-309.2V of the zoning code respectively. Property 1932 Forester Street is a .05 acre lot featuring a 2 1/2 story, 2,202 square foot structure, which was constructed circa 1900 per the Dauphin County tax records. Property is bounded by York Street to the north, the properties at 1934 Forster Street and 1933 York Street to the east, Forster Street to the south, and the property at 1930A Forster Street to the west. The semi-detached structure features elements of vernacular and Queen Anne architectural styles. Character-defining features include the brick facade with common bond bands, the enclosed front porch clad in vinyl siding, the rear addition constructed of CMU block featuring a wooden fire escape to the second floor, and the third floor dormer with steeply gabled roofs painted with painted wooden shingles. The main entrance features a simple wooden door flanked by divided light side lights and topped with a divided light transom. There is a secondary entrance accessible via a concrete path and steps along the building, which features a circular pane and is sheltered by a small awning. There is also a paneled metal door on the rear elevation. Fenestration also includes 16 windows, which are primarily 1/1 windows. There is a prominent oriel window on the second floor of the front elevation. The structure is topped with steep gable roofs clad in asphalt shingles. As a semi-detached structure, the building mirrors architectural features of its pair to the east, although there are differentiations in some aspects, such as the enclosed porch and the building addition on the rear elevation, and generally reflects the massing of other properties in the surrounding neighborhood. As such, the building contributes minimally to the architectural character of the streetscape and neighborhood. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. If granted zoning approval to move forward with the project as proposed, the applicant shall allow the Codes Bureau to perform a comprehensive inspection to identify any outstanding code violations and will receive approval for all necessary city permits prior to receiving a certificate of occupancy. And the applicant must provide a detailed site plan developed by a professional demonstrating how the rear yard will be developed and whether off-street parking will be provided on site. If that is the intention, any new development must be in conformance with the applicable zoning regulations. And to kind of clarify that second part, the rear yard is currently kind of dirt. There's a shipping container and there's some yard waste and construction waste. It's clear that there's space to be able to provide the 2 off-street parking spaces required. So the special exception for that aspect of the proposal could be obviated, but I have no documentation that indicates whether the applicant is intending to do that, so that's why I kept that zoning relief request in there. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. While the Planning Bureau does not believe the existence of illegally established units on site creates a basis for the establishment of a hardship or justification for zoning relief requests, as that may only encourage such work, in this instance, the subject property does exhibit conditions that support the granting of zoning relief, including the size of the structure, the possibility to construct off-street parking on site, and the applicant's ownership of the adjacent vacant lot, which, if consolidated with the subject property, would obviate the need for a variance for relief from the density regulations. The property can address the primary concern of the public regarding such conversions, specifically the impact on parking available to existing residents through the provision of the required parking in a new parking area at the rear of the property, and due to the availability of ample on-street parking along the frontage of the property with Forester Street. And this is due to the adjacent property next door, which is vacant. And then finally, the existence of other property conversions in the surrounding neighborhood demonstrates the allowance of a new such conversion would not adversely impact the community.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your names, address, relationship to the project?
My name is Jennifer Martinos, 250 Hummel Street in Harrisburg, and I'm the owner.
Okay. Is this gentleman with you, or, okay.
No.
All right, you heard the conditions. Are you acceptable of those conditions?
I wanted to say the parking, the reason the yard was in disarray, I guess, when you went there, the neighbor's tree fell. So you saw the large tree and all of that. That has been cleared. It's been cleaned off. It actually knocked off my fence. So that has already, it's been handled, it's been fixed. And we did do the parking, in the back, there's spaces for, I mean, I have the pictures for it. There's the spaces for the two, I don't know if you want to.
Yeah. Well, we would need to see like a site plan to demonstrate that it was
okay.
in conformance
So-
with the applicable
Right.
regulations.
So the back of it, the back of the house, because it has a very long yard, it does have, like Jeff said, does have a lot of room for parking. So I did already create 2 parking spaces, so that each unit can have its own off-street parking in the back of the house. The tree that fell has already been removed, so it does have a fenced-in yard in the back of the house, and it's 2 off-street parking.
Okay. As Jeff said, you would have to probably send him a plan on how that is set up in the back. We don't have any proof with us right now, so the
Of course.
parking. So you're accepting the second condition of developing a plan, that's correct?
The plan is for the yard, for the parking.
For the yard,
and
how the yard will be laid out, yeah, that's what we would need a plan of.
The yard and the parking.
Yep.
Okay, yes, of course.
Okay.
Sorry, also with the, as far as codes, on June 6th of 2025, I included in the packet, they already went, Code Officer Yurovich, he did an inspection of the entire property. The upstairs already passed inspection, everything was good, there weren't any issues. He saw the downstairs, him and Officer Wilson, they saw the downstairs because I had items stored there. I had the floors that had been installed, the leftover floors and all of that. Pretty much, he said, just bring us back once this has been concluded, because I was already in the process of the zoning process, the variance. So it's just a matter of kind of having them walk back through the property. The floors have already been removed, and then there were no issues already then. So that as a condition, I have no issues with that as well.
And you have you don't have official reports, do you, or?
I do note they were out there, but I don't have like an official inspection report from the Codes Bureau.
They said they cannot say anything about downstairs because it's a 1 unit. So they said we can't say this first floor passed inspection, we can't say apartment 1 passed inspection. So we can't say anything because it's just 1 family. So if this is a condition, I guess I would have to let them know, hey, it's a condition, just kind of put something in writing that says this area passed inspection, whatever, however they want to word it. But they couldn't because of that.
Okay, whatever documentation you get, you send it to Jeff so we can see that it's been done, and that's part of the conditions here, okay? Of course, that was one of my concerns with the parking, but you covered that, so I'll go, that's all I have right now, so I'll go to my commissioners, Commissioner McKenzie.
Yeah, I don't have any problems with the project. Nice, the photos look like you've done a very nice job. The key question I have, you took ownership of this building fairly recently?
2024,
Okay.
April, I believe.
Did you use a realtor for that?
No, I did not.
Okay. Okay, sometimes we have issues with realtors that don't disclose proper aspects of zoning, and I just wanted to find out if you were a victim of that
No,
in
but
this case.
the previous owner, he is an older man. He said that it was a 2-family, and I did, as it states on there, the
Sure,
county
okay.
website said multifamily, so I
Did,
never.
I saw in here there's a 2017 addition done to the building. Do you know if they pulled a building permit for that?
I
was
do
that
believe
just
they did. I
something-
looked back through the DCIT records,
Yeah.
which is our code records, for that, and it looked like, it's always tough to tell because sometimes what a owner will write is just like
Is not what they've been.
overall improve, or they'll say something very general like home improvement, and and what it is it's, I think in this case, it was enclosing that front porch area, and so that's I think that also created some discrepancy in the
I saw
square
some note in
footage.
here about nonconformance reports and amelioration in
Yeah.
2020.
Yeah, and so that's another reason we want, the Codes Bureau to do a thorough inspection to make sure that was all done up to speed, that they have insulation if that's necessary, any wiring that's going through
Yeah.
there. Because it's a little unclear as to whether the former owner, or a former owner, was very clear with the city when they were doing that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm sorry, just wanted to say, I believe I included it in the package, but in 2017 is when that addition was done. Codes went, and in 2018, it says there that, they gave them, I think it was 60 days or so. Then there is the paperwork where it says, it was brought into compliance, they did go, they inspected it. They saw that it was all, done to code.
Yeah,
everything,
and
so it was-
I was just trying to establish whether those issues were brought on by the current owner, or it was
Yeah.
something
Oh,
that
yeah.
was there, and that's not, you're not guilty for the past.
But I
So,
believe it's
that's
in my
all.
packet. I think I included it. I don't know. I
Thank
can
you.
if it wasn't.
Commissioner O'Toole?
Yeah, again, this is a application that probably would have been dead on arrival a couple years ago, but both apartments seem to be good size, and you've addressed the parking issue, so I'm in favor of it.
Okay. Commissioner Murray?
I don't have any questions or concerns. I'd echo what Commissioner O'Toole said in regards to the project. I think what's interesting is Dauphin County property records list this or categorize this as a multi-dwelling unit, which is a discrepancy with what the city's records are. So it is fair that a purchaser of this property would be under the impression that this would already be a multi-unit dwelling, approved as such. So I don't know what the city can do to coordinate with the county records, that they're more, in alignment.
I have brought this up with the county in person, on the phone, in email, asking them to change that, because and I think they did, it used to be property use, and they changed it to property class, which doesn't really help at all. But as far as I can gather from my discussions with them, it's a taxation classification for the county's taxes. And I believe a lot of them are based on the last time we did a countywide tax assessment, which is in like 2004. And so you've got this like old kind of like zombie information just continuing through, and I've asked them to remove it or call it tax class or something, and they just don't. And so a lot of this, and we're correcting it either in talking to members of the public or realtors, and that's one of the reasons we've updated our floodplain zoning certification. It used to just be give you zoning and give you floodplain, and now we have it give additional information and make sure like it's coming before the planning bureau instead of just going to the codes administrator. So we've tried to make our property transfer review process more robust so that we can catch these things. And we also, are always trying to clear this up with anybody that calls in and asks.
Commissioner Jordan?
No questions.
Commissioner Vincent?
No questions. Great job being proactive with the parking. That was all.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in the public for or against this project? Start with the middle and go to my right. If not, commissioners, could I get a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve, and I think we have
2 conditions.
two conditions, with the two conditions noted.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second for approval of this project with the 2 conditions. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you.
I'll follow up with you.
Item number 5, this is a special exception application for 2609 North Trent Street. It's zoned riverfront, filed by Noah Parsons with Triple P Fitness. This is to replace the existing front yard grass with AstroTurf.
Oh, wow. This is a new one.
Yes, so the applicant is proposing to replace the existing front yard grass with AstroTurf. And I guess it's not technically AstroTurf. I think it's soft lawn comfort, barefoot comfort. which requires zoning hearing board approval of a special exception application per section 7-321.4B of the zoning code, because the proposal constitutes development as defined in section 7-333.2 of the zoning code, which is not permitted within a 50-foot front yard setback. Per section 7-307.3 of the zoning code, a variance would generally be required. However, given the existence of the off-street parking area already encroaching into the front yard setback, the proposal only requires a special exception application for the expansion of an existing non-conforming aspect of the property per section 7-321.4B of the zoning code. The property at 2609 North Front Street is a 0.49 acre lot featuring a one-story, 3,800 square foot structure, which was constructed in 1950. Property is bounded by the property at 2615 North Front Street to the north, North Second Street to the east. Properties at 2601 North Front Street, 100 and 102 Radnor Street, and 2604 North Second Street to the south, and North Front Street to the west. This detached structure features elements of the international architectural style. Character-defining features include brick facade with a painted mural on the front and side elevations, the asymmetrical front facade featuring a row of fixed pane windows, the regular fenestration pattern along the side and rear elevations, and the prominent brick chimney in the rear. The main entrance features a full-view metal door topped by a simple metal transom and a shallow black awning set within a substantial concrete surround. The rear entrance reflects this design with a full-view metal door set beneath a shallow awning. Fenestration also includes windows in a variety of sizes and paint configurations. The front elevation features a row of fixed pane metal windows atop hopper windows set within concrete headers and lintels. Windows in the side and rear elevations feature the same window design set within simple brick frames in a regularly spaced pattern. Structure is topped with a flat rubber roof. The property otherwise features minimal landscaping as bushes along the building foundation have recently been removed with two separate parking areas. Although the building differs markedly from many of the others along Front Street and in the neighborhood to the east, it does contribute to the varied architectural character of the corridor and makes a minor contribution to the architectural character of the streetscape and neighborhood. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. The proposed turf may be installed no further into the setback than the existing parking surface, and the applicant must reinstall the landscape screening along the parking area, which was recently removed in violation of the parking facility design standards, and install landscape screening along the frontage with the sidewalk. The applicant should relocate the pedestrian connection to the public sidewalk to the southern frontage of the parking area to retain a direct pedestrian connection to the building and ensure that pedestrians are not required to intermingle with vehicular traffic to access the building. The applicant must remove the unpermitted pennant signs along the frontage of the property. And given the location within the AE floodplain and the AE floodplain, the applicant must ensure that any investments in the property are submitted to the Planning Bureau for consideration and review against the floodplain regulations and best practices before work can commence. The turf and ramp, as well as an unrelated fence project submitted separately from the zoning relief request, must be included in the floodplain development submission. The project will also require review by Capital Region Water. Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. Although the Planning Bureau is skeptical the proposed turf will replicate the appearance or functionality of natural grass and is concerned about the proposal establishing a precedent for other Front Street property owners, the project must only receive approval of a special exception application, the threshold for which is lower than for a variance. The project could function as something of a test case to determine how well the proposed product integrates both aesthetically and functionally into the Front Street corridor. And finally, if the conditions of approval are adopted by the zoning code, the project could result in an overall benefit to the viability and utility of the property while addressing various zoning violations on site.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Could you state your names, address, and relationship to the project?
Noah Parsons, 2609 North Front Street, building owner and business owner.
I'm Chris Braun. I'm a Synthetic Turf International dealer here in Pennsylvania and registered with the city and helping them with this project, we hope.
Okay. You both heard the approval with the conditions. Are you acceptable with those conditions?
If possible, could we have him restate the conditions? I just felt like there was a lot that I...
Yeah, sorry. So the proposed turf may be installed no further into the setback than the existing parking surface. So that's about, I think, like 3 feet from the sidewalk. And landscape screening must be installed along the parking area there. So that's a requirement of our zoning code to have parking lots screened, and that vegetation was removed sometime in the last 3 years. The most recent Google Street View image is from like October 2022. So I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, like it's now like tan bark, I think, just tan bark there.
What's landscape screening?
Bushes, maybe like Chinese grass, something like that. And then having a landscape screening along the frontage with the sidewalk. So there were two little bushes kind of near where the walkway connected to the sidewalk. And while there's no requirement for that, I noted that in the diagram of how the turf is installed, there's like nailer boards, I guess, on the ends and stuff. And we just want to make sure that's not exposed to people just walking on the sidewalk or just kind of visually just right there up against the sidewalk. So to have a little screening, and that could be something as similar as like a flower planting bed or something like that, just to improve the aesthetics of the property. So that was the first one. And then they relocating the pedestrian connection to the public sidewalk to the southern frontage of the parking area. So I noted that in the application, it says there's going to be no change to pedestrian access, but in the proposal, the ADA ramp goes right into the parking lot, so anybody that's going to be walking to the property would have to walk into the driveway where, you know, where there's people maybe pulling in or pulling out. And so having a direct pedestrian connection from the end of the ramp out to the sidewalk maintains that separate pedestrian connection that exists there now. And then removing those pennant signs that are out there. And then finally, just any work that occurs on site requires a floodplain development permit and CRW coordination. I know CRW has been getting some of these synthetic turf proposals in more recent years, and they need to make sure that to ensure that it's still a pervious surface, that the subsurface, the rock and soil and whatever else is done correctly so that it doesn't like back up or something. So that's something CRW has been telling us that they need to review.
How do we review that with them?
So assuming this would get approval, I would put you in contact directly with them and they would work with you directly.
Yeah, we're flexible with that.
Okay, one of my questions always with everyone is, did you contact the community? And I noticed you do have a couple sheets here filled out, but they don't have addresses, they, mainly your clients. So the community right there, did you contact any of them?
Yeah, so all our neighbors, as well as multiple of the people on that list are neighbors along Second Street there, as well as Front Street, in addition to our clients, and then as well as an online petition that's, I believe, over 300 people signed as well.
Okay. Okay, next time, next time, you should have the address so we know, just by saying Harrisburg, we don't know if they're living out on the hill and so how they affect the community. And the other, I guess you don't have no problem with parking there? I don't know the area.
Nope, it's all by appointment based, so there's only one-on-one training sessions, maximum 6 trainers and 6 clients, so that's never an issue.
Okay.
And I'd note they did, in 2023, got approval to set up the fitness center use, and as part of that, they did get relief from the off-street parking requirements based on the by appointment only scheduling.
Okay. I'm not too familiar, but are you going to do your training out on the AstroTurf? Is that?
Yeah, so essentially what we'll be doing is we'll be replacing the front grass with this specific permeable turf. This is designed to look exactly like natural grass to kind of maintain that Front Street vibe. And then additionally, very permeable. I can have Chris talk more about kind of the specifics there, but it's draining more than grasses itself. And kind of the goal here is just to have a riverfront training environment, something that this area or any area really hasn't seen. So it'll be solely for structured one-on-one training sessions, and there won't be any outdoor equipment, outside of equipment that's brought in or brought out during the day and then brought back in by the end of the day.
Okay. Those are the only questions I have at this point. Commissioner McKissick?
Yeah, this is kind of an intriguing one. I can kind of view it out there, and I've watched what you guys have been doing, and it's kind of interesting. So it will be one-on-one training out there, and okay. Yeah, and again, the permeability, we've done a lot of fields over the years, and the floodplain, I don't know where the floodplain lies out there. Are you above it?
It's, the whole property is entirely in the floodplain.
It's the whole
Pretty
thing
much
is,
all
so.
of Front Street is up there.
Yeah, and we got involved in cleaning one in North Carolina after those floods last fall. Yeah, But anyhow, it can be a good product. Sand bed, or is it rubber base, or how do you do crumb?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We use a stuff called EnviroFill, which is acrylic. It's not the typical football field where they put like, this much sand and then this much
Right,
chewed up
right,
tires,
right.
which some people say is not real healthy.
Could have
I don't
mercury,
use
yeah.
that. This EnviroFill has microban in, and it's very safe for
Okay.
kids to play on, and it's very pet friendly too.
Okay, yeah, that sounds interesting. I have no problem supporting this. The only thing is I might suggest a condition that, just to note that this shall not be used for parking at any time. No, because we have designed them and parked on them. It's not good, but it happens. So, and I know we've struggled with front yard parking down Front Street for a lot of years, so,
Yeah.
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 And that property, that used to be a fully just like impervious surface, and I remember they came back and, because they expanded it to the one side of the walkway, so they did like the pervious paving at that point, yeah.
Nothing else, thanks.
Commissioner O'Toole?
Yeah, I agree with Vern. This is a new one on us. This doesn't require the drainage infrastructure that you put on a football field, does it? You're just putting it on.
No, I'll talk to the folks about that, but I usually put a clean stone down first, about 4 inches.
Right.
Then I'll put a finer stone and compact it all out. So that gives natural drainage. The turf actually has perf holes on the bottom of it, every 4 inches, so there's holes like the size of a pencil that help it drain. And the test results, as you said, it drains 600 gallons or inches per hour. So it, as he said, it drains better than grass.
Yeah. Yeah, just curious. Well, yeah, you got my vote.
Now, you raised a question, if I may. I assume you guys do a perk test to go with this to ensure the underlying soil is not a clay?
I'm not accustomed to it.
Okay.
And I think that's something that probably
Capital Region might
Water
ask.
will
That's
walk
what
them
I'm just
through,
thinking
'cause
about.
I noted in the cross-section of the product in the brochure, it talks about compacted subgrade, and then it has the stone on top of that. So that's something that, CRW will tell them, like, yeah, it needs to be this fine of stone or whatever.
Yeah, I was just curious if you had, because I know we've dealt with that silty clay soil along Front Street, and it can be kind of, doesn't like to give up the water. So,
Commissioner O'Toole,
I'm done.
okay. Commissioner Merrick?
Yeah, I think this is very innovative. I have been going back and forth about whether it should be a separate condition in respect to Capital Region Waters review and just any design coordination in respect to stormwater planning, infiltration, and the flood plain, like drainage into the floodplain. So, I mean, I know you're saying it's coordinating, being like the floodplain review and coordinating with CRW, but there's also the drainage aspect of this turf, of the water going directly into, into the soil. They also might have an issue of actually seeing reverse water filtrate happening if there's a flood situation where, I don't know, I mean, I'm just wondering if there should be a separate, I'm leaning towards like, you kind of just like made one statement, like the project will require review by CRW, and I think it should be a condition that CRW approves of the drainage and filtration design of this project.
Sure, I think that's sensible, yeah.
And that is my only concern with this. Otherwise, I think it's pretty cool.
Okay. Commissioner Jordan?
Yes, so there was made reference to the concern for this setting a precedent going forward, correct? Jeffrey?
Yeah, that was recommended there.
So I guess this is maybe a hypothetical question, because you talk about the fact that this could function as a test case, is there any way from a language standpoint to make this like provisionary for this particular case?
You know, I think, I don't know that we've ever used that terminology in the zoning relief process. We use it in HARB, but that's a bit more, the scope is a little different of their review authority. So I think it'd be tough to say, well, we'll let this happen, but everything else is, you know, subject on one-to-one basis, because that's the case anyway, right? About what's relative to that property or whether it's a variance versus a special exception. So I didn't know really how to put that down. I mean, like I said, my one concern was basically saying, like a lot of other people saying, well, I don't want to mow my lawn every year, so why don't we just do this? And then all of a sudden you've got this carpet of, you know, turf like laid out along Front Street here. And I think, you know, I think that's still a possible concern, but like I noted in the case report, I mean, this is a special exception, it's not a variance, and so the threshold is lower. I came into this honestly expecting to recommend denial, and I couldn't get there while I was reviewing the case, so.
Yeah, because that's, if I'm just being honest, that's kind of where I'm at. I think for your business, this makes sense, but since there doesn't seem to be any gradation, it's either all or nothing, that's where my concern lies, so. I think that's it for me.
Commissioner Vincent.
Yeah, my big question would be, you know, what happens after that CRW? Like, do we have to relook at the stormwater runoff plan? Like, what does that look like from our end and our responsibility? Does it come back to us after that?
I don't think so. I
process?
mean, CRW would basically tell them, here's how you do it, or you don't get approval from us. So it would kind of be a, you know, binary, like, you know, or once they get there.
Right, and one of the things here is it's such a small parcel, it doesn't reach the thresholds of the square footage that typically pushes it into county conservation or NPDS or anything like that, so all those guards are down. This case is coming back to CRW to kind of pick up that role.
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public for or against this project? The one in the middle, the two on the side, any concerns? Commissioners, could I get a motion with Ann? You want to add your condition to it?
Yeah, I think we're adding
Two.
two additional
If
conditions.
you're good with the parking, it shall not, I've just seen too many
I think-
impervious areas get an inch and a half of asphalt. I go back to the Civil War Museum, we had almost an acre of impervious area, and they came back and asphalted it 3 years later. It was the bus parking below the hill there, so
Okay,
it just happens.
yeah.
Yeah, nobody remembered, they didn't know it was there.
Add your conditions.
Supposedly.
Did you have a?
I mean, I guess there's a possibility for possibly doing like hatching at the edge of the parking lot, so it doesn't have to be like repaved as concrete or something like that, and then just with curb stops set apart from that, so that creates that. I just want to make sure that anybody who is walking, because you're right across the street from Riverfront Park, somebody may, you know, take the green belt up there, that they just don't have to walk into the parking area and maybe somebody's backing out and hits them, that they have their own, you know, separated area to walk up to the property.
Need your conditions.
Yeah, does that,
in minutes.
right, he, making sure he, good. I would make a motion to approve this with the conditions stated, and also adding a condition that no parking of vehicles would be allowed on this area, and amending condition 4 to separate out a review and approval by Capital Region Water for the design of this drainage and infiltration of the area. That's it.
I would second that.
It's been moved and second for approval with the added conditions. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Abstention? Okay, motion carried. Good luck.
Anybody want a sample?
We're just off the record, where do you guys source this from?
Dalton, Georgia.
Dalton. Is that Shaw or?
Well, I represent the third from the national marketing arm. The manufacturer is part of the operational group. They have controlled products. Controlled products is one of the bigger names down there. It's not Shaw.
But it's surprisingly how many carpet companies actually make these for people.
Yeah, they converted years ago to this. They use the same machines. It's made just like carpet.
Does it have different thicknesses?
Yes. This is 1.5. Be an inch, for dogs, sometimes, kennels.
Yeah.
Oh, I have a question.
2 inches.
Is that like, I know I played tennis in my younger days, they're grass courts?
We
Is
can
that-
do grass tennis courts. Haven't done one yet.
Take care.
I get the city to fund it.
Special exception, right?
That's pretty good. Okay, let me see, where are we? At item number 6, I believe. This is a land development plan application for 315 North Second. It's zone commercial neighborhood. It's filed by Adam Bredeman and with Bredeman Properties LLC. It's to convert the existing office building to a 10-unit multi-family dwelling.
So the applicant is proposing to convert the existing office building into a 10-unit multifamily dwelling. Commissioners probably recall this from last month when the applicants received variance approval to establish the 10-unit multifamily dwelling. The property at 315 North Second Street is a 0.1-acre lot featuring 3 attached buildings, a 2 1/2 story, 2,332 square foot structure, a 3-story, 2,700 square foot structure, and a 3-story, 4,938 square foot structure, all of which were constructed circa 1900. Property is bounded by Barbara Street to the north, the property at 210 Pine Street to the east and south, and North Second Street to the west. These attached masonry structures, which are or will be internally connected, feature elements of varying architectural styles. The southernmost of the 3 buildings features elements of the federal architectural style. Character-defining features include the painted brick facade, the arched entryway, an awning and access ramp at the rear entrance, and the regular fenestration pattern. The main entrance is recessed behind an arched entryway featuring wide pilasters, a keystone, and a decorative sconce, and features a paneled door flanked by divided light side lights and topped with a sunburst transom featuring the property address. Fenestration on the front elevation features 5 12/12 windows with wooden sills and decorative brick headers, which all feature painted wooden shutters. There are an additional 5 divided light windows on the side and rear elevations. Structure is topped with a gable roof clad in asphalt shingles. The middle building features elements of the Italianate architectural style. Character-defining features include painted brick facade and water table, the decorative metal grates over the basement windows, the former entryway converted into a Juliet balcony, the consistent fenestration pattern, the 3-story bay window, and the decorative stepped brick cornice. The front main entrance is no longer accessible from the street as the stairs were removed prior to October 2008 and replaced with a decorative metal railing, but features a wooden panel door set in a simple frame and topped with a sconce. The entryway previously featured an arched brick surround, which has since been infilled with brick. Fenestration on the front elevation includes 17 divided light wooden windows set in simple wooden frames. Those on the first and second floors include storm windows. There are an additional 5 divided light wooden windows on the rear elevation, which also include storm windows. The structure is topped with a flat rubber roof. The northernmost of the 3 buildings features elements of the classical revival architectural style. Character-defining features include the painted brick facade, the double-sided access stairs, the regular fenestration pattern, the substantial cornice featuring brick pilasters, decorative brick and wooden elements, and a central embattlement with narrow windows, and a large 3-story decorative brick chimney on the side elevation. The main entrance features a paneled wooden door set in a simple paneled frame, flanked by sconces and topped with a divided light transom. It is accessed by bidirectional brick steps with a simple metal railing. Fenestration on the front elevation includes 5 9/9 windows with brick sills and headers, which all feature painted wooden shutters. There are an additional 11 divided light windows on the side elevation and 2 dormers topped with substantial pediments on the side roof flanking the large chimney. Structure is topped with a gable roof clad in real slate shingles. The buildings retain a significant amount of their architectural and historic integrity and exhibit a unique configuration of 3 conjoined structures of differing architectural styles, and although they differ significantly from other properties on the block, particularly those to the north and south, they reflect many of the same architectural features as other historic properties throughout the downtown historic district. As such, the structures contribute significantly to the eclectic and diverse architectural and historic character of the streetscape and neighborhood. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The project has received the requisite zoning relief approvals to convert the property into a 10-unit multifamily dwelling. The adaptive reuse of vacant and underutilized office spaces into apartment buildings is a long-term trend for the neighborhood. Other conversions of former office buildings in the surrounding neighborhood have demonstrated the proposed use will not adversely impact the character of the neighborhood, and the project will help retain existing architecturally and historically significant buildings endangered not only by the threat of extended vacancy. And the proposed reuse will add new residents to the neighborhood to activate the street on nights and weekends and grow a customer base to support local businesses, and will provide additional units to the downtown housing inventory.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your names, address, and relationship to the project?
Richard Gribble, architect by design, 1950 Market Street, Camp Hill.
Michael White, owner's rep, project manager, 232 Jackson Street.
Okay. You both heard the staff conditions. Are you acceptable of those conditions?
Yes.
There were no conditions, sorry. I said approval with conditions, but there were no conditions.
They are accepted. When they come.
I'm so used to those conditions, boy, it's automatic. Okay, no conditions. I have no questions at this time. I'll start with my commissioners. Commissioner McKenzie.
I'd like to say I don't like the project, but many moons ago, about 35 years ago, we did the combination of those. And so it's good to see it being carried into the future. At that point, it was Bell Telephone or Bell PA, and that was their first growth out in that area. And there was a lot of discussion about tear down and build new at that point, and they converted them the way they did. And now it's great to see that all the work was done. Made it easy. You don't have any property lines to move, and so it's good. No, I've been watching it sit there empty, so good luck.
Commissioner O'Toole?
Yeah, the only question, just out of curiosity, did you figure out whether you or Bell, whether Bell owns the parking lot or if it's part of the applicant's real estate?
There's a permanent easement to the benefit of the owner of 315 that runs.
Okay. I know that was up in the air last time we were together.
Yes, yeah, but we were able to look into that and confirm that it's not a lease space, but it's a permanent easement to the enjoyment of the owner of 315.
Got it. Nothing further.
Okay. Commissioner Meredith?
Okay, that was gonna be my question, because then on the site plan, like on the plans, so it's shown in the existing, overall site plan, but then it's not shown on the proposed plans, that adjacent, like the permanent easement being there.
The permanent easement is there. I'm not sure which plan you're looking at, just the overall site plan?
I mean, the plan set, you've got you have existing site plan where it does show the entire building footprint plus the parking area and an easement, but then in your proposed plans,
I think the proposed plan
nothing.
is just the floor plan.
yeah, there's no site
There's
plan.
no site work. there's no proposed site work, there's no change to anything with the site work.
Okay, all right, well, okay, I understand that then. That's how it's reflected, okay.
Commissioner Jordan,
No questions.
Commissioner Benson,
No questions.
is there anyone, the one person in the middle? Down to one person, nobody on my right.
Could have said you're in favor of it, didn't help them out.
Commissioners, could I get a motion?
A motion to approve.
Oh, no conditions.
There's no conditions.
Yeah, there's still no
I'm
condition.
still trying to get them on there.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and second for approval with no conditions. All those in favor state by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried. Good luck.
Thank you, Bradley, for recognizing that parking needs to be part of the building for use as actual, not just spread them onto the street.
Yeah, major motivation for this particular project. Thank you for recognizing that.
Yep, thank you.
Item number 7, this is a lot consolidation and land development plan for the SRTA O&M facility in the block generally bound by Her Street, the Harrisburg Cemetery, State Street, and Cameron Street Zone Industrial, followed by Richard Parr with Susquehanna Regional Transportation Authority, is to demolish existing structures, vacant rights-of-way, and construct a new operation and maintenance facility with a temporary transfer center on site.
Yeah, so the applicant is proposing to vacate various rights-of-way in the block generally bounded by Her Street, the Harrisburg Cemetery, State Street, and Cameron Street, consolidate the subject properties, demolish the existing structures on site, and construct a new Susquehanna Regional Transportation Authority operations and maintenance facility with a temporary transfer center on site. Project site is comprised of 14 parcels, 901 North Cameron Street, 650 North 12th Street, 603, 611, and 627 North Cameron Street, 700 Monroe Street, 901 North 12th Street, 527 North Cameron Street, 1100 State Street, and 3 parcels collectively addressed as 1151 North Street, totaling approximately 15 acres, which features 8 distinct buildings and several other structures across the site. Project site is bounded by 1007 North Cameron Street and 1002 North 12th Street to the north, North 12th Street and the Harrisburg Cemetery to the east, State Street to the south, and Cameron Street to the west. The northernmost property currently accommodates the existing CERTA O&M facility, comprised of a 2-story office building and maintenance garages with 2 separate maintenance garage buildings to the north. These structures total 1,407 square feet, with the maintenance garages being constructed in 1910 and office building component being constructed in 1950. The property has functioned as the maintenance facility for the region's mass transit operator going back to the earliest days of the city's trolleys. The garages are primarily 1-story masonry structures featuring elements of a utilitarian industrial style, with the office building in the southwestern corner featuring a more modern mid-century architectural style. Character-defining features of the garages include the large roll-down garage doors and the tall blue metal cornices overhead. Character-defining features of the office building include the varied masonry facades with differentiated bands, the large wings extending from the main entrance, the prominent stair and elevator towers, and the irregular fenestration pattern. The entire site is paved as parking or access drives and is enclosed by an 8-foot-high green chain-link fence topped with barbed wire. Central block features an institutional campus previously owned by Goodwill Industries and is comprised of 4 separate buildings totaling 100,956 square feet. The campus buildings were constructed at various points between 1950 and 1987. Buildings are primarily 1-story masonry structures featuring elements of a utilitarian commercial and industrial style, with a more modern office building along North 12th Street being 2 stories and featuring a more modern architectural style. The industrial buildings along the western and northern facades have little architectural character, while the character-defining features of the office building include the prominent entryway with a 2-story glass curtain wall, the irregularly spaced brick columns on the northern and southern facades, and the regular fenestration pattern. Block features parking lots and access drives interspersed amongst campus buildings with a vegetative buffer of varying depths and states of maintenance around the periphery. The block to the south features 2 little-used surface parking lots enclosed by chain-link fences, some of which are topped with barbed wire. Properties were formerly the site of the state testing laboratory. Currently, the site's only accommodating impervious surfaces and overgrown vegetation. The eastern block features the city-owned Parks and Recreation Facility, comprised of 4 separate buildings totaling 16,740 square feet. The campus buildings were constructed at various points between 1960 and 1992. The buildings are primarily one-story masonry structures featuring elements of a utilitarian industrial style with no defining architectural characteristics. Property features parking areas and access drives fronting garages and maintenance or storage buildings. Overall, while the project site does feature elements of other industrial properties along the Cameron Street corridor in respect to both existing site conditions and building design, the properties do not contribute to the architectural character of the community and in fact largely detract from it. As such, the project represents a welcome improvement to the corridor. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved with the following conditions. The project must receive approval of the street vacations for portions of Foster Street, Goodwill Drive, and North 12th Street, as well as various other public rights-of-way running through the project site prior to filing the lot consolidation and LDP final plan set with the Dauphin County Recorder of Deeds. And I know this is a little bit a weird condition here that it's not being filed concurrent with this land development plan. I think because it's involving both city land as far as the Park and Recreation Facility and like state land, the applicant has been in coordination with like the Law Bureau about how best to handle this, whether this is just through a city council resolution or whether it actually requires this. So I think they're still working that out. But they do eventually have to be vacated in some manner. The applicant must secure approval of a letter of map revision from FEMA so that the development can proceed as proposed, and must eventually receive approval from the floodplain administrator for both the structural demolitions on site, which I've just recently reviewed and approved, as well as the all new proposed construction, including buildings, fences, and signs. And the applicants have been working since, I think, December with FEMA on the documentation for that letter of map revision. And so they're currently in the midst of that process. The applicant should coordinate with the city arborist to increase the ecological impact and tree canopy on site by incorporating native tree species and pollinator plants, particularly on the western edge of the site around the stormwater detention infrastructure, which can also address localized air pollution created by Cameron Street and Hurst Street infrastructure. That should say State Street. They do have a much more vegetated proposal as compared to the last Parks and Rec facility, but the city arborist is currently reviewing that. We just want to make sure it's following our standards and best practices from that perspective. And finally, the proposed transfer center component of the project should be considered a temporary accommodation, and the applicant must continue long-range coordination with the city on an alternative location that enhances coordination with the Harrisburg Transportation Center, better accommodates rider origin destination trips, and more closely conforms to the city's comprehensive plan, as well as previous studies developed by PennDOT, including the Harrisburg Transportation Center TOD master plan from December 2017. The Planning Bureau staff recommends the request be approved for the following reasons. The project will expand and modernize CERTA's operations and maintenance facilities, consolidate agency staffing, increase efficiency, and improve their ability to provide services to the region's residents, businesses, and visitors. The project site is a conspicuous location located at the intersection of 2 state routes, and the removal of deteriorated and underutilized buildings and replacement of large expanses of impervious surface with vegetation and a modern transit facility building will bring aesthetic improvements not only for passersby, but local residents and workers as well. And through coordination with FEMA, the project will result in a site that is floodplain compliant and more resistant to future flood events in the Paxton Creek corridor.
Thank you, Jeff. Could you state your name, address, and relationship to the project?
Yes. Good evening. My name is Bill Schnorr with Stantec Consulting. We're the representative for Susquehanna Regional Transportation Authority for this project.
Okay. Are you acceptable of the conditions?
Yes, we have reviewed the case report and working with Mr. Knight, and we are agreeable to the conditions of the recommended approval.
Okay. Commissioners, I have no questions. This is pretty straightforward. And I'll start with Commissioner.
I'm sorry. I would just like to say, in addition to this, as both gentlemen alluded to, there is currently a memorandum of agreement that the Law Bureau has and is drawing down on. It's technical. And while the MPC does provide for us to do things like this for ease, like to do it through agreement and contract, there still are things that can't be passed over and have to be councilmatic. So I do have the agreement, and we are in favor of the project. It's just a matter of basically doing what you're saying, is that there are certain steps that cannot be skipped. Like, we cannot do a street vacation by contract. You know what I mean? So the bulk of this is in the agreement, and it basically has a lot of input of what Jeff has said. We are just commenting now and drilling down into the technical aspects of it so that we have an agreement that both makes it easy and still provides for city council to have their input.
All right, thank you. As I said, it's pretty straightforward, and I'll start with Commissioner McKissick.
No, the only thing I can say is I think we need more drawings for the land development plan. It's not well enough engineered, you're just kind of making,
We get paid by sheet.
by the pound probably, no, but, no, you guys have, it's a heck of a set of drawings as I was going through there, seems pretty tight, but,
Thank you.
Commissioner O'Toole.
I'm really happy to see this kind of investment on Cameron Street. I think the last time there was an investment like this, Vern was the architect, and I hope this goes a little bit smoother than that project did. Through no fault of yours.
It only took 16 years.
Yeah, okay. But no, I'm all in favor.
Commissioner Murray.
I don't have any questions or concerns here. I think it's a extremely thorough and well-designed land development plan.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Jordan.
Yes. I have two major concerns. I guess the smaller of them, from looking at the site plans, is it, and correct me if I'm wrong, as far as the sidewalk goes along Cameron, it is directly against the lane of traffic. Is that correct?
Yeah, there is. It's right up against the curb, which is on the edge of lane of traffic.
Right. Okay. My concern with that is anybody who's driven along Cameron Street, despite the 35-mile-per-hour limit, people go 45 and then some. So to be a pedestrian walking directly against that type of traffic is unnerving, to say the least, yet alone there's a safety aspect to it. Just looking over some of the specifications with NACTO, there was, let's see here, basically, of course, saying that there's a minimum of 6 feet, but then when the sidewalk is directly adjacent to moving traffic, the desired minimum is 8 feet, providing a 2-foot buffer for street furniture or utilities. Maybe in this case, a grass median or something. You know, that's something that I would suggest. Just simply, you know, just for pedestrian access and safety, because it's essentially a highway still at that point. And you know, it's kind of a safety issue with people walking directly across from the traffic. So I don't know if that's something you'd be amenable to looking into.
We are amenable to do whatever the commission and the codes bureau recommends.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to volley it over to you, Jeffrey, because that would be one of my, I guess, a recommendation maybe to install it, as opposed to the 2-foot buffer for street furniture, perhaps for like a grass median along the frontage of Cameron Street.
Yeah, and the commissioners may remember that's something we include in the Parks and Rec facility with like the wider sidewalks along Her Street. I think there's maybe a little bit more maybe constraints on this side. You're right. As when I was walking along, taking pictures and posting the properties, like it is not fun when you're right next to a truck barreling down at you at 45 miles an hour. I don't know exactly where the property lines are relative to where the curb is, and so what that width is. It's also a state route, so I think, you know, a lot of this falls within PennDOT's purview, whether they're willing to do something like this. And for the most part, I think they have been so far, so it's certainly something we would support. We always support wider sidewalks, especially if this is going to be a transfer center and people are going to be walking to the Foos School, to the Sunshine Park, M.W. Smith Homes, which are just to the north here. So yeah, we will definitely, in our continued coordination with the applicant and PennDOT, advocate for wider sidewalks.
Yeah, I would really appreciate that, because as you can tell, they've already rebuilt that. When they took out the curb cut where the garage is, they rebuilt it, and that concern was brought up and, as you can see, was not addressed. So if that's something that could be coordinated going forward once this is rebuilt once again.
Yeah.
And then the second concern, which I think Jeffrey pointed out, is just the simple fact of where this is located as far as the transfer center goes. The rest of the project, totally on board with, but the transfer center is on Cameron Street. It's not close to downtown. And pretty much I can't imagine who's walking to it. Pretty much it seems like you would have to catch a bus to it, transfer there, and then catch another bus out of there. It might work well for the regional systems coming off the highway from like York and Lebanon, but the Capital Region system that is based in Harrisburg, it kind of seems like you're doing a double back, especially with now the state workers coming back to work. You know, I can't imagine we're gonna ask them to leave the downtown area, come over here to catch their bus to then go to the West Shore, for example. So I guess my biggest concern is the way that this is constructed. It doesn't look temporary. It looks like this is, once it's built, it's built. And I understand that the city and the partners downtown would like to reclaim the transfer center. I understand that, you know, there are private owners in some of the lands in question closer to downtown. And again, like you said, that's not necessarily on this time frame. I guess just my concern is once this is built, where is the incentive to look elsewhere? Because this is not designed to be temporary.
Yeah, the applicant can confirm that that's been a stated concern of the planning bureaus throughout our entire coordination with them. But in the applicant's defense, we have worked with the most obvious potential property owners around the Harrisburg Transportation Center, the old post office owner, the owner of the former Patriot News property across the street from there, and I forget the organization that owns it directly across south of the train station across Market Street there, which owns the now vacant and kind of properties there south of Market Street. And we've had meetings with them. You know, there's been some discussion about what the federal highway will fund. So if you wanted to integrate a transfer center into a new development, that has to be just owned, I think, by CAT, or at least have like a permanent, master lease or something like that. So it's not quite as easy as saying like, well, let's put it there, or let's get somebody to build a building.
Yeah,
and
that
put
was
it on
that was
there.
my understanding as well.
So, but it's something I've been pretty firm on, is that, we, in coordination with our comprehensive plan, in coordination with that TOD study that PennDOT themselves did in 2017, the transfer center really needs to be near the train station to get the benefits of the connectivity of, having people take the train downtown and then take the bus downtown, hop on the train, go to Philly, whatever, New York. And also because that would be closer to where the city's major employers are, the state, UPMC. And if it's all the way out where it is now, it's just, people aren't gonna walk to that. So everybody's taking a bus to transfer there. I think I measured it on the county's maps, and it was about a half mile to get to the train station. And again, that's an unpleasant walk. You're right next to traffic. There's no trees, so in the summer you're out in the sun. No great places to. I think we haven't found a viable final solution. And this project needs to go forward. The CAT needs to have a new operations and maintenance facility. The money's there right now, and I mean, as you guys all know, like when the money comes in, like that's the time to strike here, because it might not come back again for a while. And so, we've just been, kind of stressing that throughout our whole coordination, that like we understand that this needs to go here now because of the time frame, and we don't have a better option. But our long-term goal needs to be that this needs to be closer to the transportation center. It needs to be closer to downtown, or the train station, and it needs to be closer to downtown. But in the meantime, we have to have a transfer center somewhere. And so this is going to go here. I don't know what materials can be temporary, like i.e. 5-10 year versus 40-year time horizon. But I've said the same thing to them too, is just like, I hope this is not all paved in, concrete and marble and stuff like that it is, something that is not overly expensive to put up and therefore overly expensive to take down.
Right, and I guess that was my concern, that there might be an issue of sunk costs, that once it's built, it's just kind of like, well, do we want to spend the money yet again to put it elsewhere? And, you know, just speaking for me personally, I wish that maybe the transfer center was being offered separately, because like I said, I have no problem with with the buildings being rebuilt. They need to be. But it's just, I'm just concerned that once it's there, it's not going anywhere. So,
No, I mean, I think the applicants we've made them aware, they've been willing to meet and have discussions and talk about the options. It's just, it hasn't panned out, and maybe somebody comes forward, maybe money becomes available to purchase a property, you know. And again, like I said, it's not even just as simple as like building it, it's about ownership, and that can become a little bit tricky, and that's not gonna happen right away, so. But in the meantime, we do need these new facilities, so, we felt that putting that in this case report, you know, if somebody needs to come back later and say, hey, this is the city council resolution approving this, and it says that they're supposed to find this, so that gives us the, you know, access to, you know, changing this in the future. Like, we're hoping that that's gonna be what that is.
would you say access, or would you say leverage?
Leverage, yeah, that'd probably be a better word. To change that in the future, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
How many buses at this at the transit center you're seeing, the transfer center?
Good questions for the architects, and I'm the site civil, but I'm thinking like 70 is.
At a time with transfer?
Oh,
I'm
at
just
the
talking about
transfer center.
the transfer
Oh,
center,
sorry.
yeah.
No, transfer center, there's space for, like 32. No, I mean,
Wow.
we see, there's 4, 8.
Because the functions we're moving there is
16.
what is kind of tried to work on the square since they built that in, what, 90?
Right, yeah.
And I remember when it had a lot of buses, so you don't see too much there anymore.
No, there's
It
more
looks,
like 12.
it looks like from here, 16 sawtooths.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but I mean, even now, you have the bus will back up on the Second Street sometime, and everybody's gotta, you know, drive around them, so. Yeah, clearly, the current, facility is not sufficient to safely handle, all the circulation that happens right around there.
Right.
Just a thought came to me, talking about other places. I mean, might be, of course, too late now, but I was thinking just for the transfer center and the other operations stay where it is, but have you thought about, maybe you're not aware of it, but since I'm a member of the ABC Brewery, not to say I'm a bar person, but that closed down about a month ago. Now, I was thinking that building, and they had the parking lot behind it, and also the building where the office building across the street. I didn't know that would be an area that if they're, you know, purchased, be a transfer center. They have enough space, the parking back behind the bus, and it wouldn't be that, you wouldn't have to cross Cameron Street.
Yeah.
I never thought of, I just thought about that.
Yeah.
Mr. Knight probably knows more of the properties that have been looked into in that regard, because I know Rich Farr and others at CERTA have been working closely with the city on potential options that would be, you know, agreeable to the city, and so.
Yeah, no, I mean, there are a couple different options for the properties along that 809 block of Market Street there. Again, it was more conceptual stuff, and I don't know how far talks about purchasing those properties ever got, or what level of design
Well,
was
part
ever.
of it is it's already, what, 70% owned?
What's that, those properties?
Yeah, I mean, that we're on, I mean, it's already owned property too.
Yes,
so-
yes, exactly. And they got it from Goodwill, which was, you know, amenable to selling and moving out of there too. I mean, it was, yeah, it's a large part of it is just the ease of doing this, because all of the property owners and stakeholders in that site were amenable to changing it. The city obviously was like, yeah, we'll give up our Parks and Rec facility, you build us a new one, which they're doing,
Yeah,
so.
and like, for a temporary structure, that makes total sense, but for a permanent structure, it kind of feels like an easy way out.
No, I mean, the applicant can tell you, I haven't been, I haven't been giving them the easy way out on working through that, but, Yeah, I mean, it's a challenge, and I know there have been multiple designs, not even on the east side of the tracks. There were talks about rerouting back onto the ground level of the train station where I guess buses used to run down there. There's a parking lot just to the south of it where they looked at it, and for various reasons that just never happened. But we're continually looking at it, and at least from my perspective as the planning director, this is one of those high-level things that anytime anybody asks me about any of those properties around there, I make sure to mention this first and foremost. Like, if you're looking to do a development here, let's talk about how we can bring the transfer center into that.
Right, and there's plenty of other transit agencies in the state that we can look at it as examples of doing just that.
I know it's probably in agreement with Commissioner Jordan. Historically with the city, whenever they do something temporarily, that's it. It'll never become.
Right.
But it just thoughts about, again, with the post office, I don't know what that could be an excellent transfer center, but, whatever that building sits there,
Sold for what, $600,000?
I can't remember off the top of my head.
It was something like that from the post office to the owner. I don't know if it's the same owner, but.
Okay. I didn't forget about you, Commissioner Vincent.
No, good discussion. I have no further questions other than what was already discussed.
Just to please Ann, since there's no one in the public, I can't ask the public to respond. Okay. I just, for the records, okay. Okay, commissioners, can I get a motion? And just suggesting, maybe Jordan, you want to make the motion with your added condition?
All right, I guess motion to approve with the stated conditions and including the reference to adding the 2-foot grass median along the frontage of Cameron Street.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved in second for approval with the condition plus the added condition. All those in favor state by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Good luck there.
Thanks.
She went quicker than I thought.
Any other business, Jeff?
Well, I didn't have it down on the agenda, but I have it here on my notes to have the introduction of the new commissioner. You kind of stole my thunder a little bit there at the beginning of the meeting.
Anytime I could help you.
But just wanted to give Mr. Vincent an opportunity to introduce himself, maybe give a little bit of his background to the board and for the general public.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Name's Bosser Vincent. Let's see, I want to introduce myself. Actually came from a manufacturing background, so mechanical engineering. Worked in pet food for about 15 years, and then transitioned, started owning my own business, did a lot of research, got kind of hooked on the comprehensive plan, started really diving into that, did a series of videos on that, and that kind of led me to trying to want to engage in this space a little bit more. Actually just previously made a run for city council, and then president of Young Professionals of Color, so there might be some opportunity for me to abstain depending on how things and engage, and then just really looking to learn a lot about this process and see how the group functions.
No. Again, I said welcome.
Thank you.
And I think you'll enjoy this type of work. It relates to your background. And this meeting tonight was a good way to get your feet wet. Yes. But this is a mild meeting. We have been meetings when this place is packed, and we've been here for hours. And the other thing I'll let you know, there's no pay. The water is that reward.
These documents typically come in as 2 days, especially no pay. Reviewing this and,
Well, we usually get it ahead of time, but Jeff is the only person working in that department. And
Not
they
the
have
only
them
person.
doing like 20 things, so.
Yeah, no, yeah, the last few months have been a little, more hectic, so there's been delays getting them out. Previously, I was getting them out the Friday before usually, and this tended to be a fairly, complex project, especially with like the transportation center, so the reviews, are a lot longer, at least from my perspective, developing the case report are a lot longer than the discussion was. Yeah, look, going forward, I'm gonna really, focus on getting these things done sooner so that you're not getting them week of.
Question, John, we're telling applicants right now 2 weeks, 3 weeks
As far as,
before meeting, that you have due date for applicants.
oh, no, it's always the first Friday of the month for the following month's meetings. So September's was last Friday, August 1st. And depending
You're running
upon.
4 weeks now.
I mean, it's 4 weeks, basically. Depending upon how long an agenda is gonna be or how complex the cases are, I may take something a little bit later, or if I've been working with an applicant on something and they're just waiting to get in paperwork.
I was just curious whether we were working off of 3 and it needed to become a 4.
No, it's usually the month before, but, so I've gotten everything for next month already, but working on developing this, then I'll be working on the meeting minutes for the zoning hearing board meeting, and so by the time I'm able to turn to the next month's meeting, it's like 2 weeks beforehand, yeah, so.
Jeffrey, do you know if the budget has been in so far? Because I'm asking, maybe ask a request for a pay for us.
I mean, we did put in the temporary budget, or not temporary, draft budget, but haven't had those discussions with city council yet, so.
You did?
No, yes. So there's always the possibility to change it before the end of the year.
I know there are planning commissions that do pay them, but
Yep.
we're the exception, I guess. But we do this because we care.
Well, because like the MPC allows like city council, planning commissioners to be paid. Like a monthly, like it's like, yeah, it's like $600 for the year or something like that.
Hey, I'll go for that. Better than just this. And then I can buy my own water. Anything for the good of order?
One question, another, Josh, I don't want to run this
Yep.
long. What have you heard relative to the brouhaha that's coming up with the downtown planning group that's gonna, I guess, start with the.
Oh, that economic development group?
Yeah, yeah. Have you been invited to be involved?
I haven't been in a meeting. So there was a, ULI had something a couple weeks ago, about, the downtown, and they had various stakeholders, some developers, I believe, Mr. Vincent was there, business owners, were there, so they've had, their engagement sessions, and they're working on developing a document. I think they said it would take a couple months, so I did ask for like an early draft of the feedback that was gathered, and they were like, "Oh, we don't do that." So they are. I think they said they were planning on having at least some draft document developed within like 2 months or something.
I did one at ULI's a bunch of years ago for Camp Hill.
Mhm.
It was really easy, just say liquor licenses.
Yeah.
That was the main thing they implemented is they took it from a dry town to a wet town.
Right.
It worked out of it. But in terms of anything else you've heard, there's really been nothing.
Aside from, like I said, a prospective document availability date of, I guess, late September, early October, maybe. I'm guessing, I don't know if they're gonna do a presentation to like city council.
What's happening over at the tap house? That's coming.
The Federal Tap House?
Yeah.
So that's the Capital City Music Hall, that was
They're
approved.
they're having a session here the 11th or something, or
I was not aware of that.
14th?
Some meetings.
It's being done through, I think it's being done through the Business Journal.
Oh,
Some sort of
Central Penn Business
symposium
Journal?
there that's coming up, yeah.
Oh, I think that's a active construction zone, so I don't know if they
Well,
want to
that
be.
was where they were advertising as being.
I think there was an article in the Berg as well about it, because I think that's how I found out.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that one.
they're tied into that. It's a neat process. You bring people in from out of town who've got no dogs in the hunt. And, use their skill. It's pretty neat. But
Yeah. I'm not
You've
familiar
not
with
been approached to
Mhm.
That's usual for us
that's right.
from the other mayors. With that, could I get a motion for adjournment? Is there a second?
Second.
We stand adjourned.